hopeful, and I think it's, I have no idea really what the way forward is, nor really where, as it were, art is going. I mean, I despair sometimes about industry, but in a sense industry will have to catch up with artists. I don't think it's never allowed. And what's rather hopeful in a sense about the discussion today is that you feel that it's up, how industry catches up with artists is really the issue. And of course it's very, what my friend here next door, was saying is I think so true really, which is that artists do lead the way. And in a curious way that also this sort of phenomenon of sort of rampant consumerism, that as it were industry, particularly if you like what the industry terms its own creative industries, i.e. advertising, as it were, feed off in a very parasitical way on, as it were, the most interesting art forms, or the most interesting art ideas. And so there is a sort of way in which something about modern life that destroys itself very rapidly. And I think it's that moment of consumption, like the very, very short-lived idea of what an idea can be, how long it lives, as it were, how we consume it. I mean, all that terrifies me now, the speed at which that happens. And I suppose it probably is in ourselves to resist. I can't see anywhere else, and perhaps to try and get our children to resist. But that's a long shot. Very much so. I suppose the other, there's a sort of whole other aspect which I guess I don't think has been mentioned, I can't think of, which is about art education. I mentioned it at school, i.e. its illumination, but also how artists themselves are trained. And maybe this morning's session, maybe tomorrow's session will address some of this. And I'm not an expert. All I know is that increasingly, certainly in Britain, artists are no longer encouraged to practice much more to be able to, as it were, understand what it is they do. To become, if you like, their own interpreters. And I do think there's nothing like, this is almost, of course, our history is littered with, if you like, imperialist or repressive ways in which art is interpreted. And of course, there's always been a great tradition of dignified labour and working with your hands, and going back to some earlier dignified, perhaps traditional form of craft. And of course, that has its dangers. But I suppose, in all, I think it's important, as it were, for people to use their hands, but it's not really hands, it's hands as tools, as it were, for the mind. And so I think that we have to be quite careful not to dignify what artists make and do with, as it were, what spaces they create. Because I don't think they can be easily differentiated. That's probably all I've got to say.